Good morning. Thanks for being here this morning. Last week I had the opportunity to participate in the National Lieutenant Governors Association meeting in Washington, D.C. So this morning I thought I would give you just a brief update on that and some of the topics that were discussed while I was out there. Prior to the conference, I was joined by other lieutenant governors in the annual meeting of the Aerospace States Association, ASA. We discussed challenges of the aerospace industry and the need to have an educated workforce to meet those needs of that industry, which includes Rockwell Collins and Cedar Rapids. We also discussed the Essential Air Services, EAS, and the impact of the reduced funding or the elimination of that federal funding. That would impact over 150 rural airports across this nation. It would, for Iowa, that would impact Fort Dodge, Burlington, and Mason City. The National Lieutenant Governors Association was an opportunity for me to network with other colleagues, build relationships from across the country, to discuss best practices and challenges that we all face. In addition to, it was an opportunity to interact with national leaders and discuss federal issues that impact the states. The conference topics included economic and fiscal updates, congressional actions impacting states, for instance, like the Transportation Reauthorization Act and the No Child Left Behind Reauthorization Act. It also included economic development, healthcare costs. We talked about the need for open markets to American exports, including an update on the pending trade agreements with South Korea, Colombia, and Panama. We did receive an overview from the National Guard initiatives from General Craig McKinley, who is the chief of the National Guard Bureau. I was very proud to have, as part of that session, they highlighted the new partnership between Iowa's National Guard and Kosovo, and they also highlighted Governor Branstad's co-chairing the Council on Governors, and it was great to have Iowa highlighted during that session. I had the opportunity while I was out in D.C. to visit the Walter Reed Center, where I had the opportunity to visit with an Iowan outpatient and his mom, and the family of an Iowa inpatient. I was reminded while I was there of the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform and their selfless actions to defend our freedoms. And I just want to take this opportunity to encourage all Iowans to keep our troops and their families in their prayers and to seek ways to actively support family members of deployed soldiers and to continue to actively welcome them back as they reintegrate themselves back into civilian life. The conference also provided an opportunity. We were able to visit the Canadian Embassy and the Ireland Embassy, where both ambassadors participated, along with several other officials, and it was an opportunity to further build relationships in mutually beneficial ways. Extended an invitation for both to come to Iowa. I think there's a fairly good chance that will happen this fall, especially with officials from the Ireland ambassadors. On the trip, I was able to also talk with officials from the Department of Education about the pending reauthorization of Elementary and Secondary Act, or ESEA, or No Child Left Behind, all kinds of acronyms for that legislation. We talked about Race to the Top, and we spent a lot of time talking about the Education Summit this fall, topics, breakout sessions, panels, a lot of resources that they're willing to offer to us, and also, again, to just extend our appreciation for Secretary Duncan's participation in the Education Summit this fall. We also had the opportunity to be addressed at the session by the Undersecretary of Education, Martha Cantor. I had the opportunity, while I was out there too, our congressional delegation was back in Iowa, but I had the opportunity to meet with their chief of staff. And we talked about ESEA, Senator Harkin's role on that leadership role on that legislation. We talked about economic development. We talked about, again, about encouraging them to move the pending free trade agreements that are in place. We talked about regulations at the federal level. The House is undergoing a review of their federal regulations. So we talked about what the governor had done with his executive order and our plan to do a 4-year rolling sunset, and how it really was important with EPA regulations from the federal level, the impact that has also on businesses and growing the economy and spurring growth. And we talked about the Farm Bill, budget, ethanol, and flood recovery. And finally, I had the opportunity also to meet with the National Governors Association on the Center for Best Practices and the Pew Center on the states to discuss best practices, ways that we can help improve education. We spent a lot of time talking about the Education Summit and just what we can do to improve the economy, the environment. They are doing a study on the prison system. They have some statistics on some ways that they're changing with the growing population that we have there. They're doing a study on that, and it was a great opportunity for me to network, identify the resources that are available to the states, and to start to meet colleagues from across the nation. So thank you very much.
I appreciate the lieutenant, excuse me. I appreciate the lieutenant governor's leadership, and we truly work as partners, so we'd be glad to respond to questions. Considering my voice, she might want to answer most of them.
Governor, schools are facing a deadline for establishing budgets for the coming academic year. I know the preschool at my church has already had enrollment for the coming academic year. Are you creating problems for both school administrators, for teachers who are trying to land jobs, and for parents who are trying to enroll their kids in preschool by a delayed decision on school funding here?
We haven't delayed our decision. We made our recommendations. We're just waiting for the legislature to come to agreement on that. But first of all, we want to assure schools it will not have the uncertainty of the last couple of years. There will be no across-the-board cut. We fully intend to fund school aid. You know my recommendations are that we would not provide for allowable growth, but we would fulfill the state's commitment and fully fund. In other words, the $212 million that wasn't funded, the state's obligation last year will be funded. And also, we've made our recommendations in terms of the amount of dollars that we think are appropriate to meet the needs for the 4-year-old preschool. And we believe that can be done in a way that, with the involvement and assistance of the parents, can provide preschool opportunity for all 4-year-olds in an affordable way. So we're very hopeful the legislature will address those issues. I think the House has passed the preschool bill, and we're hopeful that things can get worked out with the Senate in the near future.
What's your advice? I mean, they are coming up here.
My advice would be to follow the governor's recommendations. Well, usually, you got a House of one party and a Senate of the other party, and my recommendations, I would hope that at the end of the day, will be pretty close to what will eventually happen. But, I know the legislative process and the way it works, but I think if you look historically, we've usually ended up in school aid and other major financial decisions fairly close to the governor's recommendations. So, and we're going to continue to work hard to get those approved right up to the end of the session. I know that the session has moved kind of slow, but things are starting to pick up. We're starting to pick up speed now, and we're very hopeful we can get many of these issues, financial issues, the tax reductions, the job creation bills are very important as well. To get those approved here in the coming weeks.
Governor, Senator Branstad has said that how the budget is crafted, you wouldn't be able to line item veto preschool, and that he says that it's going to pass. Can you comment on that? He seems confident that this is preschools Democrats want it will move forward.
Well, every bill that's passed by the legislature is subject to being either signed or vetoed by the governor. And if it's an appropriation bill, it's also subject to item veto. My interest is to work with them and not to make any threats, but instead to say how we can best do things. And I believe that we've crafted a proposal that makes sense, and we're willing to work with the legislature to accomplish it. And the big thing that I don't want to do is what happened last year and the year before, and that is promise things that the state can't and won't deliver. The massive across-the-board cut caused huge disruptions in local school districts, caused major property tax increases, and we've committed to prevent those kind of things from happening. The budget I proposed would not let that happen.